talking to UVTV, motherfucker. I'm at a kid spiritual ass to do this for my people. On God. Me and looking for feather man. Yeah. And today I'm gonna be talking about angels are just entities which see things from a higher and broader angle via high-hanging, fruitful thoughts. So just in general, right? Just for me even titling that in a certain frame of way of how y'all be looking at it. Because I know y'all be looking at angels and stuff like that, like, oh yeah, she's so pure and innocent, my sweet little angel, because of this and the third. But y'all be getting lost into the programming of how y'all supposed to, you know what I'm saying, like the programming of like religion or like Christianity and stuff like that. I'm just using that as an example because they be the main ones talking about archangels and angels and Jesus, Jesuit, Christ, and all that type shit to make y'all look at things a certain way, and a white man about to come out the sky in all white robes and shit like that, looking like some spiritual Jedi or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just in general, in the overall way, man, I need a fucking haircut, but like, but the overall way of how you're supposed to look at it, right? It's just a broader or a higher angle of how you look at something. So look at that as someone who always, when it comes to certain situations, even when things start to get real closed in and your spiritual back is basically against the wall and stuff like that, and there's a lot of overwhelming things going on inside your environment and surroundings and stuff like that, where you kind of have to force your way through that situation to try to persevere so you can get out of it. So that's like a motherfucker in a shootout and stuff like that, and they trying to expand or they're trying to escape out that situation. They actually try to live to wake up the next morning and see the next day and shit like that, instead of getting banged out. You know what I'm saying? So just in general, they was able to maneuver in the situation and stay calm and able to have that spiritual discernment to where they know how to move to get out of that situation so they don't end up getting shot or getting hit in between the crossfire of motherfuckers shooting out and shit like that. I'm just using that as like an example to make that make sense. So from an overall point of view, right, it's the minute you start being in your angelic natures and stuff like that, because people can play out these different characteristics. That's why I named the title in that format of like entities. And entities are just things that live on its own, but it's something in existence. So look at that as like, oh, there's different spirits that's flying around, right? And then before motherfuckers start looking at it like a pseudo and stuff like that, just look at like the spirit being the space they was in, the essence and the substance they was in. So the subconscious standing. So the essence of who they was even after they died and shit like that. Okay, you got a family, you got a grandma and shit like that. When they die and pass over, you're holding on to the memory of what they was, even though they're not here in the flesh. So that lets you know, based upon them having a spirit, right, it's something that's gonna be living beyond just them. That's in that whole essence and substance in general of whatever character in their natural nature of their subjectivity of what they was, because your individual space is just your individual spirit, which is just your soul. You know what I'm saying? You feel that shit inside your soul. You was inside the space they was in and stuff like that because you experienced it. So you experienced how it was to experience being around them, because they're individual and they got their own mind, and you got to experience of what their mentality was when they was alive, and that's the thing you're trying to hold on to, and that's the thing that's gonna make them hold on to the next lifetime and stuff like that, so they can be born again, because it's based upon the sentience and the sentience and how much they live their life, just in general. Look at life like you giving life to a thought or an idea or a feeling or emotion. Now, we know every day we have a million fucking thoughts and a million different feelings and a million different emotions and stuff like that. And you can feel one way 5 years ago and you ain't gonna feel the same way 5 years later and stuff like that. But you knew you had an amalgamation or accumulation of a lot of different thoughts, just in general. So just from them going through that system, that replenisher system of keeping their spirit alive and stuff like that, to make it something that's everlasting and eternal and stuff like that. A lot of this shit they be talking about in the Bible and stuff like that. But like, the more you be into that energy of trying to make your spirit bigger, look at that as like making your awareness bigger. You know what I'm saying? You having big ideas or big thoughts and big feelings and a lot of big passions or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a lot of different passions and dreams that you actually want to accomplish, and you trying to take it out the twilight zone, that certain shade of how you look at it, and make it something that goes just beyond just yourself, so people can always see in a new day of you having that accumulation of you having that space of what you made for yourself, what you cultivated based upon some type of culture or creativity and stuff like that. People can see that beyond just yourself, and people can latch onto that because you created a lot of different situations in your life. And the more you try to accumulate that, but do that spiritually though, you know what I'm saying? So look at that as like your natural natures and stuff like that. The more you broaden up your spirit, that's like you broadening up your mind and stuff like that. You're broadening up your awareness and its capability. So you being more sensitive to the senses. So you starting to understand your you know what I'm saying? Like your spiritual senses. You start being a spiritual sensei, having a master over your senses. So look at that as like stimuli and stuff like that. You have a whole bunch of different feelings, and you have a whole bunch of different awarenesses of a whole bunch of different things for the most part. And the more you have that knowledge and wisdom and that know-how, but you're able to have that discernment, so you can learn through those different experiences which you observe. You're gonna add more mental resilience, and you're able to go through more shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're able to add on more to your talents and gifts and capabilities and stuff like that, because you was able to be flexible in a whole bunch of different spaces. And all that is just spirituality just in general. You know what I'm saying? Spirituality is just the actuality of all the different things of creation and existence, all the different spaces we have. And that's like the objective point of view. So a dreamer make the teamwork concept. So we all have our own subjective point of view, and we make the world. So we basically making the world in God's image, not God like a deity, God like all possibilities, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like we're making the climate, we're making the atmosphere, we're making the sphere, we're making the world itself. But we can't do that without understanding and having that relationship with ourselves first. So us understanding our own natural natures, us understanding our own characteristics, us understanding our own mentality, our own subjective point of view, and us putting ourselves first, so we can have that light that we can shine based upon our individuality. And us as individuals, we can make the overall actuality of creating some type of culture or having some type of system that basically helps everybody from our own perspective and creative point of view. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's gonna have their own little lane, their own little pocket, own little thing based upon tradition and their family and customs and stuff like that. For, you know what I'm saying? Like everyone's gonna have their own representation and stuff like that. Ain't nobody gonna feel left out. Ain't nobody gonna be feeling super opposed and shit like that. Even though adversaries and opposition creates the positivity. You know what I'm saying? You need negative shit in your life. You need pain and suffering to actually have something to obtain into and stuff like that. So you always gonna have that polarity, opposition concept. You know what I'm saying? Like a yin and a yang, just in general. But like y'all get what I'm trying to say on like a higher percentage scale. Everyone's gonna have their own pocket, and everyone's gonna be more productive and busy doing that instead of worrying about hating on another motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So, right, a motherfucker who's acting angelic, or a motherfucker who's with the angels and stuff like that, right? That's like the attendance of God and stuff like that. And then they start making that towards like, oh, okay, this is like a heavenly being or a celestial being, right? So based upon you being in that state of being, because that's all it is. It's just different states of beings and stuff like that. The same way how in the United States, right, it's a country, but it has different states of beings and stuff like that. So it has different states. So like, oh, like Georgia or like Alabama or like New York and stuff like that. It has a specific type of culture and the people that make up with it, and a specific ecosystem. It has a specific atmosphere in those different states of being and stuff like that. But the people within that state of being make it up what it is and stuff like that. So look at that, like how we have that with geographical locations based upon different countries and different states and stuff like that, and different continents and stuff like that, right? Based upon the different atmospheres and the motherland that's going on, right? Look at that as a thing that's actually going on spiritually, though. You know what I'm saying? It's going on in the spirit realm, the astral realm first, esoterically, and it's going to turn into a mentality, which is just your first body, and then it's going to turn into the flesh. And then we make the external tools and technology from the flesh. So we make the external world. So that's like worldly things and stuff like that. Like we make the materialized world, and we're in the physical flesh, like the physical shape and form of what that is, aka us being like a human body and stuff like that, and us being living, and we give life to thoughts and ideas and feelings and emotions. So we make those things sentient, and that's like boundless. That's limitless. The same way how your spirit is limitless, but your spirit is your space. So just in general, right? You're no shape and form, so you turn nothing into something, and you like to emanate. Your spirit like to emanate. You like to observe these different things. So the same way how you be meditating and stuff like that, and you be trying to calm down your mind based upon you trying to have some type of clarity or purification and stuff like that, it means you're not trying to act out certain characteristics. You're not trying to act out those thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. It go in one ear and out the other and stuff like that. But the thing that we're doing is emanating and giving birth to things, and we're observing shit. So just in general, from us observing, we're just looking at it from an overall point of view, and we can act out those characteristics in those experiences, but it's a choice though. You know what I'm saying? You can choose to participate or you can choose not to participate, but there's still awareness or our know-how happening in general. So the minute you start to understand how to tread lightly, and knowledge is just knowledge. So from it being knowledge, right, that's infinite, that's balance, right? The more you know how to extract wisdom out of it to gain some type of like wisdom, or you learning from your experiences and stuff like that, right? You can take that knowledge and it being balanced and limitless, and you can have a boundary, you can have a limitation, you can start to structure it, you can create and build on something to create something out of it, and then it's gonna go into that transition of going through a death and stuff like that. So it's you making something simple, but you're going in depth about something, you're making it deep, and then that's, you know what I'm saying, that all the way goes down to like physical death. So something that's temporary, but you can use the different external tools and technology that keep on upholding of what it once was, and you keep going through that transformation, even though birth, life, and death, and rebirth, or at least the way I like to call it and stuff like that, right? When you go through birth, life, death, and rebirth and shit like that, right? A lot of that in general, all those different things are transitions, but you have to go through the natural transition, the same way how you go through spring, summer, fall, and winter and stuff like that. All those are different seasonal transitions, and when you start to act out these characters of what's going on in the atmosphere, so look at that like the heavens, because the sky is like the heavens. So the more you know to act out these characteristics in these circadian rhythms and shit like that, all the way down to the seasonal transitions and stuff like that, you be more relatable, you be more in sync, you don't be more out of sync. So you're able to not utilize some type of procrastination type of energy. You was able to act out those characteristics when that's the time to act out those different characteristics and shit like that. That's why we have shit like astrology and the certain signs, and we'd be having in with the sun and the moon and stuff like that, in those different sun and moon pockets. You acted out those pockets when it was the time to act out those pockets. You came in to work on time. You know what I'm saying? That was the time to do that. When you start skipping steps and you shortcut it and you don't do it the time when you're supposed to do it and shit like that, now you gotta make up for it and shit like that. Is either you making up for it or you acted out that characteristic way too late. That wasn't the time to do that. So now it's gonna get that resistant type of energy of like, this is the wrong time to be doing this, or like, why you acting out in this nature and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you either procrastinated, or, you know what I'm saying, you was being too indecisive during that time and shit like that, or it's like a wrong place, wrong time and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it plays out in reality in a whole bunch of different ways with different circumstances and situations. You know what I'm saying? That's like a motherfucker who's wearing a fucking bubble coat, a fucking bubble coat, and it's the middle of fucking summer and shit like that. Nigga, it's hot as hell. Why the fuck you got that big ass coat on? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hot as fuck. It's 9 degrees. What the fuck you got that big ass coat on, nigga? You know what I'm saying? It's hot as fuck. You gonna be sweating like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Looking like Fat Albert, all type of shit. Like, you're like, yeah. So the minute you start hanging with the angels and stuff like that, right? That's like the messengers and the attendant of God, right? So that's like high hanging fruit. That's why I say it in a broad and a higher angle. That's like high hanging fruit. If it's high hanging fruit, right, is you gonna get the fruitful, the high hanging fruitful energies and stuff like that. So if something is fruitful, it's juicy, it's enticing, it's like gold, you know what I'm saying? It's rich, it's resourceful, it's really flavorful, it's really tasty, right? And the only way you can get there is doing it the more natural type of way, not doing it in the synthetic type of way. So that's like GMO. That's like eating junk food and shit like that. It got a whole bunch of different additives, aka it had to add on a whole bunch of different things to dilute it and gentrify it from the natural essence of the thing. And the natural essence is going to be way more fruitful, it's going to be way more tasty, it's going to be way more enticing, because it was something that was natural. It wasn't something where like you trying to play a voodoo doll, you trying to play a characteristic, or you trying to play a caricature, or you're trying to cosplay. You cosplaying, you ain't actually just being yourself and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You have to pull up in a mask and shit like that, like Jim Carrey in the green face mask and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah. So just in general, high hanging fruit, that's something that's more everlasting, right? But it's something that's gonna take longer to achieve. But once you actually get there and stuff like that, ain't nobody gonna be able to take you out of it, because you did it naturally, and you was able to do, you know what I'm saying? You was able to put in the work naturally. You didn't shortcut it and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't try to cheat your destiny or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just using metaphors and allegories to make it make sense. So just in general, right? Instead of you trying to do something based upon instant gratification, instant validation. So if it's based upon instant gratification or instant validation and stuff like that, right? You're going to get fulfilled, but you're going to end up being unsatisfied because you did something to fulfill something real quick instead of something that was going to be fulfilling and is actually going to last longer, because it was like you built up that energy and stuff like that, instead of you trying to build something up, but the bricks are already cracked and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't get all the cement in the crevices and shit like that. So it's not going to be stable. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be secure. It's not going to be stable. It's going to be able to, you know what I'm saying, you're able to crack through it. You know what I'm saying? You're able to see through the cracks real easily because you didn't take your time of actually trying to fortify it in the right areas and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's like motherfuckers who do things based upon like a monetary gain just to be fulfilled and shit like that. So just because you got $1 million and shit like that, right, it don't really mean shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, I'm not even trying to say like there's something wrong with money or anything like that, right? So it's like a motherfucker who's doing something real like quick, like real like scammy like and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that quick admiration, that instant gratification for the most part. So it's something that's like monetary. Oh, that shit is gonna come and go. You know what I'm saying? It's monetary. It's not something that's gonna be everlasting. It's not something that's gonna be eternal. So that's like, it's not something that you're like deeply invested into for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, the minute you start to do something that actually makes you feel validated inside first, because we're doing everything from the inside out. The more you try to do something that's more relatable and valid for something that actually feels good to you, something like you actually like doing, and it's not something based upon like a monetary gain, like something that comes and goes. The same way how when it comes to money and shit like that, okay, you can get $1 million. You could die right now. You can't take none of that money with you and shit like that. So they'll let you know in reality what that shit is actually used for. It's just a tool to help you keep creating more and stuff like that. The more you start getting more comfortable in a certain position because of how much money you got, that means the minute you start getting some money, you ain't gonna know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you start getting that money, you gonna start crashing out and shit like that, because you didn't try to fulfill something of your ability or your capability of how to go about something naturally, and you're not utilizing it like a tool. Like, you understand the difference and stuff like that. Motherfuckers be needing money to make it feel like they cool without realizing, nigga, you was cool without that money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you was cool being yourself without the extra additives and shit like that. That means if you was already that before you had that, you're gonna be cool even if you did have that. You just able to live in luxury or leisure, or you're able to utilize different expertise to make you look even more cool because you was already cool before you had that money. You know what I'm saying? Like, niggas was already fucking with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, niggas was already fucking with you before you even had that goddamn money and shit like that. So the minute you start acting all fucking weird and shit like that, not like they let you know, motherfucker, they already was weird before then. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was never cool like that. They already was a fucking lame and shit like that. They ain't changed like on some like, oh yeah, the money changed you because this, then, the third. No, they ain't changed shit. They already was like that. They just started utilizing, man, they just started pimping up motherfuckers and they started feeling themselves. You know what I'm saying? They started utilizing that to fulfill some type of ego, but you're trying to utilize something outside of you to fulfill something inside. It's never gonna work like that. You know what I'm saying? You still just gonna be some bitch. Like, oh, like on God, like you just still gonna be some bitch. You never try to figure out that nurture and care and comfort zone within yourself. You never try to actually deal with your issues. And God like that. God like, or all possibilities like when you help yourself and stuff like that. When you try to utilize something outside of yourself to help yourself instead of you trying to just help yourself and deal with that internal nature inside and stuff like that, dealing with those demonic natures and trying to close up the gate like some shit in Abaddon. You never let that degenerate ass characteristic show its face again because of this, then, the third. You start to actually feel good because you're trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you did something for you. You know what I'm saying? You did something to fulfill your own stuff, to make yourself feel good and stuff like that. And then people gonna actually see that characteristic off of you and stuff like that. Like, oh, this motherfucker got like the it factor, or like this motherfucker got something about him where it's like, oh, they're like real wise or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're real clear and a real initiative of what they want for themselves. You get what I'm saying? Like, so that's when they start getting attention and attraction in the right areas and stuff like that. So people are going to be more attracted or enticed from what they're paying attention to and stuff like that, because attraction is just people being drawn to what you paying attention to, just in general. So the minute someone try to start getting attention, but it's something that's really abundant or something that's really positive or something or some shit like that, people are going to be more drawn to that because they're doing something that's more true to them. So something that's more good for them, just in general. Because I don't want y'all to get lost into the dichotomy and shit like that of being good as in being like nice or some shit like that. I'm about to get into that. But it's not just about that, just in general, right? It's something It's something of like someone living in their truth. They're being true to them. You know what I'm saying? They're doing something that's good for them. It may look negative if you did that, but you're not them. You get it? You know what I'm saying? That's more positive for them to do because they feel more fulfilled to that because that's something that's true to their natural state of being or some shit like that. Like, yeah. But this is general, right? Being with the angels and stuff like that, right, is just being the attendant or the messenger of God. God is just all possibilities. So it's like you giving meaning and ideas beyond just this realm of reality for the most part. When I mean this realm of reality, I just mean based upon like the physical. So look at that as like something that's beyond just yourself. If I wanted to make that like mad simple, right? So if you're able to give ideas of something beyond just yourself and create and cultivate another way that's more refreshing and new and is based upon something that's true to you, based upon your natural natures and stuff like that, right? And you're able to talk about these things, you know what I'm saying? Like you're able to put yourself in different spaces, different awarenesses, different programs and stuff like that, and you're able to make your own little program within that overall program and stuff like that. You're able to make your own system within the overall system, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So like you already doing it spiritually, and then you make a mentality out of it, and then it turns into you making you acting out that characteristics in the body, in that organ, or you being an organism and shit like that, right? And then you're able to use the tools and technology of the external world in some shape or form. So it go beyond just the external world, it go beyond just you in the flesh and stuff like that, and it go beyond just your way of looking at it and stuff like that. And the more you're able to do something beyond just yourself, because that's all spirituality is. It's just the different spaces of, it's just the actuality of the overall space, all of creation, all of existence and stuff like that. The more you're able to take all possibilities of what we're all created for ourselves and the overall space just in general, and you're able to be a messenger of that, an attendant of that, that's you acting out angelic nature. So it's you taking something of high-hanging fruit of something that's more eternal and everlasting, and it's not something that's temporary and something that's going to get drawn out after a while and shit like that. So just in general, right? I mean, shit. Like in general, when it comes to this channel, this is what I'm doing. Because this is still the spiritual channel, the subconscious awareness channel, and the conscious channel and shit like that. I'll be talking about every goddamn thing in existence. But I let you know, based upon my awareness, I'm making myself aware of a whole bunch of different things, and I'll be trying to look at things at a more higher angle that's more eternal and everlasting, and it's not something that's monetary and temporary. So that's make me talk about different states of being and different things in existence and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So like the more I make my awareness bigger, I make my soul bigger, my own personal space of how I look at it, I'm creating a broader sense of how I look at it. So it's going to make me be more of God, all possibilities and stuff like that. I'm going to add all possibilities to the possibility of the potentiality of that being another thing of how you can look at something, just in general. And the more I'm able to do that to help myself, the more I'm going to be hanging with the angels, or me acting out angelic type of natures and shit like that. I'm not being demonic. I'm not even trying to say it like demonic as in bad. It's just it being descending and stuff like that. I'm talking about something that's after the fact. So the more you get lost into the flesh, okay, you're talking about something that happened after the fact. I'm being more ascending, or being more in my ascendant or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting myself first, so I'm not putting myself last. If it's something last, it's something that's like a conclusion or like the tail end of something. I'm talking about what comes first. So it's gonna end up me talking about something dealing with the spirit, talking about something dealing with essences and stuff like that. It's gonna be me talking about some type of substance or something, or the natural nature of something before it becomes synthetic, or before it becomes like a monetary gain that someone end up scamming somebody else and taking advantage of somebody else or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like a system that already got created and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not getting lost into a creation, motherfucker. I'm trying to create my own program. I'm not getting lost in your goddamn program. You know what I'm saying? Like the more I start actually being that perspective, I start understanding the overall program instead of me being with the goddamn program and shit like that. So yeah, I know I'm in a program. I know I'm in an illusion and shit like that, but I'm aware though that I'm in an illusion. Some motherfuckers don't be knowing. They just be delusional. You know what I'm saying? Like some motherfuckers just be indoctrinated. I understand someone made a fucking book. I'm not getting lost in the book though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not indoctrinated. I'm not in the book. I understand a motherfucker is in authorship and they made it. So who the fuck was the author who made that shit a doctrine, and who's being indoctrinated? Who's being the sheep? You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. To make that mad simple, I'm thinking for myself. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's all you doing. That's it. So that's acting out ascending type of natures. That's you being with the angels. That's you hanging with God, all possibilities. The potentiality and the possibility of everything that could happen of being a part of that space. And then that's it. Like, so being a attendant or like a messenger and shit like that, right? So being an attendant is you being being present, or you being related to God. And being present is a gift in itself. You know what I'm saying? Like presence, being present in the moment and shit like that. That's like esoteric gift. That's like a virtue. There we go. That's like a virtue. That's like a virtue. So from that being a virtue, the more you know how to be present, right, and being in the presence of something, right, that's you doing things for God, or all possibilities and stuff like that. So you're not being bogged down or being regressive or hanging on to your past. You're not overly being progressive, aka that's like foresight. That's like you looking at intuition and stuff like that. I'm not even trying to say it like, oh, the past and the future is bad. I'm basically trying to say you have to utilize things from your past so you can use it for your present, so you can have a better future. But to have a better future or have that foresight, you have to be in the present. You have to see where you're going. You know what I'm saying? So that's like moving forward or being ahead and shit like that. So it's like putting yourself in different spaces, but the only way to be present and actually cultivate that ability is understanding where you at. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand where you came from, where you're trying to go, which is like the future, and you're trying to make it relative to what you're doing now. So being present. So that's like earth sign type of energy in general. You know what I'm saying? You're able to be secure and stable, and you're able to manifest and materialize it, and you're able to do it right now. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that's impending. It's not something that you already done did. You should be taking the experience of what you already done did, aka like your past, and you should be able to take the visions that you get of what you're trying to do in the future, and you're able to do that shit right now, and then you're able to cultivate that ability over time. You get what I'm saying? So earth sign or being grounded, you know what I'm saying? Like earth sign energy or being grounded, that's being present. You understanding your presence, right? Your abilities, your gifts, your talents, right? And then water sign energy is kind of like your past. You're holding on to what you already done did. You know what I'm saying? You get lost into a pocket of time. You're supposed to be focused on what's going on right now and shit like that. And the only time you should be only like going back into your past, you know what I'm saying? That's like understanding previous lifetimes and stuff like that. Or like things you already done experienced, whether positive or negative, like things you regret, all that type of shit. The only time you should be doing that is when you already experienced something and you like, oh, okay, the last time I tried to do that, this happened and ended up not going in my favor because of this, that, and the third. So let me try to avoid or pick apart certain things that I learned from that awareness so I can do it more wisely in this scenario because of this, that, and the third. So it's like you getting better at it. And then fire sign energy is like the future. So that's like going off intuition or going off a vision or like foresight. So it's kind of like it ain't happened yet. It ain't happened yet. That's like being a prophet or some shit like that. They really be talking about this shit in the Bible. That's why a lot of that shit be like fire sign type of energy, but they end up crashing and burning themselves out. You know what I'm saying? Crashing and burning themselves out because they getting too lost into the fire, into the light and shit like that. And they end up being all volatile and crashing their own fucking spirit and shit like that because they getting lost into the impending apocalypse of what they think gonna happen, but the shit didn't even fucking happen. So what the fuck you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, the shit ain't happening now. So I don't know what you talking about. Like, bro, like, man, them motherfuckers be getting lost into an illusion and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? They literally getting blinded by the light by trying to have some type of foresight of some end times or some shit like that. That's a whole different fucking video. But like, yeah, y'all get what I'm trying to say. So that's like future sight, foresight, insight, intuition of the instinct or you having that spiritual sense of what could happen of the journey of whatever you're trying to do at the moment and shit like that. So it's like coming in a vision. That's the easiest way I can explain it. That's like a vision of where you see yourself and how you're going to get there, just in general. So going from point A to B to C, but you can't control how you're going to get there. You can just pivot through the different things you're going through when it comes to trying to actualize your passions and stuff like that in the present moment. And then you can have a better or more clear vision of how you want it to be once you get there. You know what I'm saying? Of that seat or that goal of you, of whatever you're trying to accomplish in shit like that. So it's not about the destination itself. It's about the journey, just in general. So the more you're able to be more in the present, right? Understand the presence overall when it comes to God, aka all possibilities, and being more in sync and relatable, and you're able to make it relative in a multitude of different ways. It don't matter if they're high class or low class. It don't matter. You're able to still make it more relatable, and you're able to make it possible or someone can act, so someone can see the vision, someone can see the potential of what the fuck you talking about, regardless and stuff like that, and you're able to be more of service instead of being self-serving, but you still able to have that discernment, and you can be that that esoteric assistant for somebody in general. That's like you acting out angelic characteristics, or you looking at something from a higher angle, something that's more eternal and everlasting, and things of that nature. Now, like that last part, when it start to talk about like angels being like sweet and kind and like innocent and shit like that, that's you understanding the substance or the subconscious standing, right, of being more like sweet. So sweet can mean like enticing, or like it's like a sugary substance, right? So it's like sweet, so it's like friendly, it's like nice, it's like charming, it's like being relatable and stuff like that. I'm trying to make it make sense, but don't get lost into the dichotomy of being friendly or like being nice and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you look at something from a higher angle, it don't necessarily mean it's something that's like nice or like love and light all the time and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? That's like you getting lost into the light, you getting lost into the Lucifer. That's like you getting lost into a validation issue or some shit like that. You shouldn't go based upon like the love that you get in, right? It's more about you just looking at something from a higher angle, right? But from you looking at something from a higher angle, you have to look at the whole thing itself, the yin and the yang. You know what I'm saying? The good and the bad in general, if I want to make that make sense. Like the positive and the negative in general, right? So it's like you weighing the pros and cons. But once you understand and have that discernment, and you're trying to weigh the pros and cons, but you're not being too much in an ego, or being too much in a bias of, I'm trying to make this go to my advantage, or I'm not trying to do this because it's going to make me look like I'm a bad person to this person or that person because of this and the third. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to look at it overall. Like, this will go well, or this will go bad. But in general, right, we want things to go more in our advantage. But sometimes you have to understand that it's not always going to go in your way of how you look at it. You know what I'm saying? But the more you try to be in that equilibrium balanced space, and you're able to just be yourself regardless if it's going good or bad, and you know how to pivot and stuff like that, the more you're going to be in more scenarios of it actually going in your favor, because you're not being too much in a self-serving bias. You're making yourself of service of something beyond just how you look at it. But the more you're able to look at something beyond just your bias, just in general, right, you're able to act out those pockets or those different characteristics, even if it look volatile at first and stuff like that. Motherfuckers gonna be like, you know what, they was kind of spitting though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna get that esoteric grace just in general based upon the intentions you was in from you doing it, because a motherfucker gonna be sitting there judging the situation and sitting there all like, but it makes sense why they did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if it looked real negative and volatile during that situation and shit like that, if you was in those, you know what I'm saying? If a motherfucker was in the same situation you was in your shoes, you won't understand why you had to do that. You won't understand, I had to do this person like that. They don't understand, I had to pop this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? It was in my way. I had to do that to survive. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more a motherfucker start to understand it, like, okay, they was in survival mode. Okay, during that situation, they had to do that. They had no other choice. Otherwise, everyone in that situation was gonna go through some hell, or like, you know what I'm saying, some misery, some hellistic state of being and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers was gonna end up getting shot. Motherfuckers gonna end up dying or some shit like that. I know I'm using like extreme examples and stuff like that, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. It's like when, like, the court and law system and like the judges be looking at some of these cases and stuff like that, and they kind of have sympathy for the victim, because they sit there and look at it and be like, but it makes sense why they did that. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense why they had to do that person like that. They kind of acting in self-defense. Like, when you mind your business, on God, when you mind your business and you ain't trying to make your business everyone else's business, and you ain't trying to antagonize or attack a motherfucker based upon their intentions, and you ain't trying to attack a motherfucker all the time, and you more in that defensive mode, aka you're just trying to defend yourself, you're gonna get more grace just in general, right? Because it's someone trying to block you from creating a situation. So the more you in that defense mode, you automatically gonna get more grace when anyone who actually know what the fuck is going on, like the nuance, like the substance of what's going on, you're gonna get more grace, esoterically speaking, and in reality, because you were just utilizing your sword and shield based upon your best, the best way you could, the best to your ability and shit like that. So, in general, right, being sweet and kind, you have to be one of a kind. It's a type, it's a character, it's a quality and stuff like that. You have to learn how to be one of a kind. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So a motherfucker who's like like really kind and compassionate and stuff like that, that's just compact passion and stuff like that. So you're able to make your passion conjoin with other people's passions and stuff like that. So you're able to have that sugary substance. You're able to be more sweet. You're able to be more cool. Just in general. Just look at it like that. Like a motherfucker who just cool as hell. You know what I'm saying? The minute you around and stuff like that, oh, this motherfucker is like really charismatic. This motherfucker is really passionate and charismatic and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like this motherfucker is like cool as hell to be around and stuff like that. Oh, I fuck with his swag or some shit like that. That's you acting out that characteristic, right? So is you being sweet or sugary, you know what I'm saying? Like you being sweet, you being rich, you being abundant, you being cool as hell, and you understanding that subconscious standing, and you're able to stand on that in the most natural, organic type of way. And that automatically leads to you being more productive and you being more creative and stuff like that. And then people gonna already want to be a part of what you got going on, but because you being more creative and productive, and people are gonna automatically want to be a part of what you got going on because this motherfucker is fucking lively and shit like that. This motherfucker ain't coming off degenerate. This motherfucker ain't coming off like they dead or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like this motherfucker actually has some abilities or some talent they actually want to show. So once you understand that sweet substance, right? And I already done broke down all that shit of being that sugary substance and stuff like that, right? It don't necessarily mean kind of innocent and stuff like that. No, you have to be pure in a one-of-a-kind type of way. You have to understand your natural and organic natures, right, of what actually be true to you, and then everything is going to come after the fact and stuff like that. So you just being yourself. If I want to make that mad simple, you just being yourself in the most broadest sense. You know what I'm saying? So you always get that esoteric grace and look at things from a higher angle of you trying to broaden up your spirit. So that's like you broadening up your awareness, or you having some big ass ideas and stuff like that you want to actualize, and then you're able to play that out in the flesh, and you could be the walking example and stuff like that. And then everyone else in the external world and shit like that could look at you as the new hot spot, or the newest substance, or the new coolest thing that's hot right now because of this, that, and the third, because you was able to do that within yourself first, and you was able to make that more in sync and relatable to all possibilities. You was able to put your own qualities in a whole bunch of different spaces and stuff like that, and you still able to be yourself in front of a million different people and stuff like that, and you was able to still be someone's guardian angel, or you acting out you being like a heavenly being. You was able to create your own atmosphere. You was able to create your own sky. You was able to create your own blueprint. You know what I'm saying? You was able to create your own manuscript, not being some type of manuscript of what the fuck some type of handler or some publicist or what manager made you do or some shit like that. You was able to be the man of the situation. You was able to be the manager and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You was able to control the situation. You was able to be your own goddamn boss, and then now you got coworkers and shit like that. You was able to boss other people around, but you was able to do that in your internal nature first and stuff like that. You got your blood pumping and shit like that. You made your cells and your organs you know what I'm saying, give you the goddamn adrenaline to do that thing and stuff like that. You was able to boss around your goddamn organs in your cells in your body and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? We do this in the internal natures and shit like that first, and then it comes off externally, and then it actually puts you in situations where a motherfucker look like they the boss of everything, and make a motherfucker look like, oh, this motherfucker is like all about their business, or like some CEO type of mentality and stuff like that. And then anybody who's a CEO and they start going up the rankings and they start ascending into that light and shit like that, they know what the fuck I'm talking about. They know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's just the what they call that, like the corporate world version of what that is, but they're still playing out those characteristics. It's just the minute you start getting lost into Jeff Bezos' $1 million moves and all that type shit is when you start getting lost, because you start getting lost into the instant validation of what some white man that made up based upon some paddlework concept in God We Trust of the shit we made in the dollar bill, without understanding that the dollar bill had to get created in the first place. And they made it so, to actually be something in society, you have to get this money, and money don't grow on trees or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like some allegory like that.